Well, there you have it. Another predictable result to discuss here on Cricbuzz Live, the third T20 International, and once again following a pattern. Win toss, ask the opposition to bat, put them under pressure early on, and the amount of runs on the board just not enough. 156 for 6 looks all right, maybe slightly under par, but the way England batted, and there wasn't really too many demons as far as the bowlers were concerned. So a clinical finish at the end, but it had to be the Jos Buttler show that really gave it such a bit of a commanding feel to that result. I'm joined by Zaheer Khan to try and take a look at another post-mortem. Even though it's all about the toss, Virat Kohli still said, look, you can't have the toss going your way. So you need to try and get those victories out when you're on the other side of the toss.
Absolutely, you can't be depending on the toss for sure. Today there was a bit of a help for the spinners. You saw Washington Sundar also turning that ball sharply. You saw Yuzvendra Chahal consistently getting that turn. So when you look at that, you could have negated the toss, but one thing stands out for me, which is against this England batting lineup. You need runs on board. 170 plus is something which you have to see. I think it was a Jos Buttler show, and he took the team home convincingly. But when you look at this batting lineup, you know that you're going to need that extra cushion of runs to defend if you're batting first. And if you're bowling first, it's not going to be easy to contain this batting lineup, because the dictate and the diktat to the batting lineup of England from the team management is very clear. They're going to go hard, no matter what the conditions are, no matter what the situation is. They're batting deep. They have the quality in their batting, and that is something which they will look to use to put bowlers under pressure. So you have to counter it in a different manner. Jos Buttler on his day can take apart anyone. Some of the shots which he played, I felt, was superb, and it was a pure masterclass from him to bat on these kind of conditions. So you have to applaud to Jos Buttler's effort. But for India to win this series, or to be remaining in this series, they'll have to really bat well. It's going to be the contest of two top batting orders in the world, and the series is going to be decided on that.
Yeah, I mean, just to have a look to assess India's bowlers, I know we keep saying that fine, fair enough, we've got only 5 bowling options. In a scenario like this, where you maybe fall 20 runs short, do you feel that at least having that variety, maybe an extra person to turn to Akshar Patel is in the squad with the ball turning a little bit? Yes, you'd be a little lighter on the batting, but you'd have to back your top few batters to fix that.
Well, if you look at how they've gone about in their bowling department today, they've done everything they could. It's just the sheer genius of Buttler which took the game away. Bairstow gave the stand which was required. But in terms of bowling, you can't put too many fingers at bowlers and say, okay, they could have done better. I think they tried their best. It's just that on the given day, Buttler was too good, and that has been the scenario so far. So English batting is going to put bowlers under pressure. They will use their feet. They will find ways. They'll reverse sweep and put you under pressure constantly. So that is something which you can't run away from. But I think the batting is something, the consistency in batting needs to come. To win against England, you need runs on board, and then expect your bowlers to defend.
Yeah, talking about running away, in case you thought our third guest had run away, he hadn't. We were just giving him a few moments to celebrate a well-earned victory. Michael, you did say walk in the park. It just ended up becoming the stroll that it was throughout the innings, but it was a bit of a fast-paced jog from Jos Buttler, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant from Buttler. Excellent from Johnny Bairstow as well. They've just got great skill levels, power. The running between the wickets between these pair is always exceptional. They're so quick. India's fielding once again was poor. I don't think they bowled too badly. I just did think they got enough runs, and it's quite clear in this T20 series, whoever wins the toss gets an advantage because the pitch does get better to bat on. in the second innings. India, I didn't quite understand with the bat in hand how they changed two players who'd done so well in the last game. So Ishan Kishan had opened the batting, goes to 3. Virat Kohli, who played brilliantly at 3, goes to 4. Surely you keep, the substance of what had worked so well in the previous game, and you manoeuvre a KL Rahul into the middle of the order. You're up against the best team in the world. It's very much reminding me of England in the Test series, swapped and changed everything, and they're not that great a Test match team. They're just a good Test match team, particularly when they get in their own backyard and in conditions that favour them. This Indian T20 team, it's not that good. It's not as good as it should be. So when you get things that work, keep it. Keep it till the next game. You just go 1-1 in the series, and then you make those changes. So I didn't quite get that. I do think Bumrah, Ravi Jadeja, you put those two into this team, I think it just makes it such a better team. You get an extra bowling option and left-hand batting power with Jadeja, and obviously you get a world-class performer in Jasprit Bumrah. It's just the batting at the top of the order. I didn't get the swapping and changing when it wasn't required.
Fair point from Michael Vaughan, but one is the issue within the team itself. But what about the issue of the toss? Because this is the T20 World Cup year. India is slated to host the T20 World Cup, and other teams will be eyeing this as well to say that we've got to find a way to negate this. Now, have a look at this. Since January 2019, T20Is in India involving Team India, just 3 matches have been won batting first, Zaheer, and of those 3, India got 200 plus on 2 occasions, and on 1 occasion against Bangladesh, they got 176. Bangladesh should have won that game but collapsed. So essentially, it's been about put a huge total on the board. Otherwise, you're losing the game.
Well, I mean, it's been an early start now, isn't it? Earlier the matches used to start at 8 o'clock. Now they're starting at 7. So that is one way of negating the dew factor. Dew factor used to be huge in terms of advantage to the toss, and team winning the toss used to field first, and that used to give that undue advantage. But today, I didn't feel that was the case. I think it was the ball was turning, in fact, more in the second innings than in the first innings. So that is something which I was happy to see. The dew was not a big factor, but still the result is going in that fashion. So you don't have to think too much about it. These numbers keep changing. I think the team batting first need to figure out a way of getting to that total. Yes, when the conditions are dry and the wicket is too pace at times, it makes it difficult. But you still have to figure out a formula. I mean, if you're looking at talking about World Cup. In a tough game, if you're batting first, you're not going to say, find that easy excuse of saying that, okay, we lost the toss, that's why we lost the game. I think, that effort needs to be made. And it's once you figure that out, things get easier. It's not very simple as it sounds, but I think the chat which Michael was talking about in the early years that, they used to talk about cricket, Test cricket being difficult, and it just becomes a psyche. I think that's something which can be the case in current scenario, where a lot of teams prefer actually bowling first, so that they know in this format how to go about chasing. If you get the other team out cheaply, you can actually pace your innings. In the first innings, you have too much work to do. You have to first assess the condition, figure out what is the par total on this track, and then look to take on the game, and that at times becomes tricky. But it's just about someone figuring it out and starts changing things around.
Michael, there was a time at least in the 50 over game when it was the dew factor. I mean, you'd bat in the daytime, and then when you'd come to field, the ball would be a cake of soap. So not quite that. I'm going to steal a phrase from Zaheer Khan and tweak it around a little bit. He said undue advantage. He meant it obviously with a different spelling of the word, but I'm going to use it in this sense. It was not due. So it was undue advantage, no due. So what was it? If you had to tell a team batting first, what are you going to tell them in the dressing room?
It's clearly an advantage to bat second, but it is what it is. You can't change it. Suddenly you can't, create a World Cup where you don't have a toss. There's always going to be a toss. So it may be that the T20 World Cup in a few months' time, it does favour the team that bats second. So what you have to do as teams now around the world, you have to work out a way of making sure that you get into the game with the bat in hand. So it might be that you have to go even harder. You have to be more brave. You have to try and get beyond that par score of around 165. So you're going to need 190. So you're going to have to go earlier than possibly India went today. I know they lost wickets, but you've just got to be brave and go for it. And with the ball in hand, if you know it's going to get a little bit harder, again, it's down to teams to work out scenarios, skills, different kind of field sets, when to bowl different bowlers at different times, because it isn't going to change. It isn't suddenly going to move the duo, and it's suddenly not going to get better. It's just going to be the way of the tournament. So teams have got to work out a method, a mentality. And I think that they've just got to go harder with the bat. They've got to try and get that. As you mentioned, India did win a game by getting 200. That's what you've got to target. It's hard, it's difficult, and it could be that you go that hard that you end up getting bowled out for 120. You're going to lose anyway. So you might as well go for it and try and get the big scores to put the teams under pressure. And I don't think it's going to change. I don't suddenly think that the change in conditions is going to be different for the World Cup. So teams have to find a way of competing when they bat first.
If anything, October, November, you will not only have the surface advantage, but there will be the DEU factor, not the DUE factor. But a couple of numbers, Michael, that you were looking for. We were chatting about Jos Buttler and how good he's been. And of course, we know opening for the Rajasthan Royals. But you were looking for numbers of Buttler batting in T20s in India. And we've just pulled those out. And 27 innings, averaging a shade under 50, strike rate in excess of 155, 10 scores of over 50. That pretty much answers your question in terms of how good he is here.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And England have got it right. When he moved to the top of the order, I was, one of many that went, England don't have too many players around 5, 6 and 7 that can play the way that Jos Buttler can. But they have lots that can play at the top of the order. But it's been the right move. They want him to face as many balls as possible. They want to give him the chance to win the game opening the batting when he's in that middle of the innings. Sometimes he's not used, or too much is required by the time he gets in there. He can really affect the game by opening the batting. So, I got that wrong. England have got it right. It's been the right move to put Buttler at the top and giving him as many balls as he possibly can.
Just to finish off the whole Buttler discussion, Zaheer, from a bowler's point of view, if you were in that Indian dressing room, or for that matter, Mumbai Indians versus Rajasthan Royals, you've seen Buttler in this pink hot form, if I could use that term. Are there ways you can find to tell yourself, okay, strategically, we've got to address this guy?
Well, strategically, he has been getting out bowled odd leg before, but that's usually early in the innings. So you just hope for that. And and these days with technology, everyone knows that. But when player is in good form, and that phase once he sees that through, he's a tough man to contain. He's just got variety of shots, and the way he puts spinners under pressure, I think that's like breaking the backbone of Indian bowling, because if you put spinners under pressure, then you have no one to go to in the middle overs. So that is something which has been doing brilliantly, and that's what the numbers are showing. How many times you've seen overseas players come to India and convincingly hit sixes, convincingly step out? Because if someone is stepping out, that means you're reading the ball from the hand, and that is the most difficult art which a lot of overseas players actually don't command. And Buttler has that, and I think that's one of the reasons the way he's been putting bowlers under pressure. He's stepping out, and he's using the depth of the crease, and that makes it very hard for any bowler to contain him.
Certainly is, but the quality of this England team, Michael, has always been the depth. Someone like Owen Morgan playing his 100th T20 international, if this was a kids' match in the park, he'd be most upset because he didn't get a chance to bat. But he'd be happy without breaking a sweat. The boys did it for him, and you'd have to give credit. Jason Roy didn't get as many as he would have liked, but Malan, while he was there, and Bairstow, how good was he at the end? Denied Buttler a chance of 100, but took them home.
Yeah, high class, good partnerships all the way down. I know it doesn't sound a huge amount, but 23, England created that foundation. I think the way that India got into this T20 game was to get 2 or 3 early wickets. So they created that foundation. Malan does what he did. He just kind of knocks it around. He allows Buttler to strike it. He'll just give him the strike. So again, not the kind of T20 style innings that we see, but a very smart T20 innings from Malan today. And Johnny Bairstow, he just comes in at number 4, and he's got the boundary options. He can strike it into the stands. He's got the sweeps, the reverse sweeps. He runs between the wickets hard. you know, you're looking at the actual foundation of the game was set by the tone of Mark Wood's bowling. You know, Wood coming back into the team, bowling with great pace, getting those wickets, bowling quick, bowling sharp, short deliveries, getting the Indian players to try and hit it square of the wicket on 2 occasions. He did play us for pace, you know, and he's a massive asset to the England kind of method of playing 50-over cricket, T20 cricket, and Test match cricket. We just are always like that with Mark Wood. Always hope that he stays fit because he always creates impact. He's a wonderful bowler.
And it's something Zaheer, Virat acknowledged at the post-match chat. The first thing pretty much he came out and said the extra pace, but it's one thing to have the extra pace. It's about the opposition bowlers hitting the right lengths. So he acknowledged that the likes of Wood and Archer not just had the extra pace. We said he went for 150 plus in a couple of deliveries, but the right lengths.
Well, if you have extra pace, it becomes that much easier, isn't it? with missing the length, also you can get away if you have that extra pace. And then when you have accurate bowlers like Jofra and Wood constantly coming at you, you know, it's always going to be difficult. So yes, the balance of this English bowling does change when Wood is in this kind of a form. The one game which he missed, you know, showed that, you know, how Indian batting lineup could actually put pressure on the new bowler coming in. But if both are playing together and along with Rashid being used in the power play, I think, you know, that's kind of complementing each other very well in that power play to stack up the overs.
And Michael, you did allude to the Indian fielding, not just in this particular game. And certainly the captain is not letting his players off easy. He dropped a catch himself. And he actually said that the body language of the team in that second innings was not acceptable. Exact words that he used. So it's something that they need to put right.
Yeah. You know, very rarely do you see a team lift a World Cup trophy without having, you know, a decent fielding team. You know, you have to hold on to 75, 80% of the chances. India are a long way short of those standards. And Virat will know that. He'll be the one kind of driving it. He'll be saying to the team, come on, we've got to be aggressive. We've got to be aware. We've got to be kind of really concentrated at all time. But the problem for Virat is he drops quite a lot of balls himself. You know, he almost sees the ball too soon. He's got too good a set of eyes, and he's always a little bit too soon or a bit anxious to get that ball into his hand. He has to set the tone. You know, again, I keep mentioning Ravi Jadeja, but he offers so much to this Indian team because when he's back into the team, you get an incredible fielder, a brilliant bowler, and a brilliant batter. I really do think they miss him massively.
But interesting, Zaheer, a good vote of confidence. Michael was saying how Virat Kohli will need to lead the way for this. And he's already started leading the way by giving a vote of confidence to KL Rahul. He said, yes, I myself had a bit of a lean patch, 3 ducks in 5 innings. We all talked about it across formats. And he said it's just 5 or 6 balls for KL Rahul. He will be our man at the top of the order. So he sent a clear message to Rahul. Maybe in addition to Virat, somebody else needs to talk to him. Someone from his franchise, Chris Gayle maybe, gives him a call, a spouse, a girlfriend.
just stand and deliver. Use the power. That's what Chris is going to say. No, I think it's a good message, and these motivation is required at times. You know, just about seeing that phase off. You know, maybe KL was thinking too much about his spot. You know, whether he's going to be opening, not opening. Now you have one more batter who's done well, who's opener, who's keeper. So, you know, things at times play in your head. But I think that keeping him in the playing 11 was the right move, and will be going forward as well. It's just about figuring, like, you know, like we were mentioning, you know, if Ishan Kishan today was opening with Rohit, you know, maybe it would have worked out better, since the youngster need not adjust too much. The experienced players can. And if KL had a couple of tough games, you know, it would have just eased that pressure off a little bit, where he doesn't have to face the new ball, you know, when he knows the situation. Maybe have a decent start with Ishan and Rohit, and then KL walking in would have helped his cause as well in dealing with the situation. We might see that in the next game.
Yes. And that is exactly what we will talk about very shortly. Just to remind all of you where we stand in this T20 International Series, it's the visitors who have gone 2-1 up. 2 tosses to England, 1 toss to India. That's the way the results stand as well. It's 2-1 to India with 2 to play on Thursday the 18th and Saturday the 20th, all at the same venue, all behind closed doors. Looking ahead to game number 4, and that's what's coming up with 2 matches to play, after which there'll be 3 one-day internationals in Pune, and this is the big one coming up next. England 2-1 up in the series. They'll want to carry that momentum forward. Of course, there's lots of talk about the flip of the coin, but someone, either India or England, have to find that right formula. Michael, I'll come to you. As the camp who are ahead, you'll obviously want to say that, yes, we are ahead, but all it takes is India to win a toss, be 2-all, and then it's down to the last one.
Yeah, and you wouldn't back against that. You only have to look at the victories by the teams batting second. They've been very comfortable, 8 wickets, 7 wickets, 8 wickets. It's just a stroll in the park when you bat second, or it seems to be. England won't make many changes. I don't think they'll have any sympathy for India. They won't start playing 5 or 6 players that have been sat on the bench. They want to win this series and give themselves a big boost going into that World Cup later in the year. Maybe Mark Wood rests again if that bruised heel is still sore. Maybe Tom Curran. They will try and get Moeen Ali a game or 2, but I don't think that'll be in the T20 series. I think that'll be more so in the 50-over series. Owen will be desperate to win this series, so I don't think England will change too much.
But just staying with you for a moment, Michael, if you had to get Moeen Ali in, would it be instead of Sam Curran, assuming Mark Wood is playing?
Yeah, but Sam is, he's that left arm angle, offering that Owen Morgan likes, and all captains around the world in T20 cricket just like that option of having a left armer. It's just being nice to Moeen really by giving him a game. There's no science and there's no system that you've seen in the 3 games to think that England need to go to Moeen Ali on these pitches. It's not been required. You kind of put into your mindset, would India prefer to be facing an off spinner or someone bowling heavy into the surface like they have done for the previous 3 games? England have gone in with 5 seamers. They don't all bowl 4. They kind of rotate it around. Ben Stokes bowls a couple, Sam bowls a Southern, and then you've got Chris Jordan, you've got Joffrey, you've got Mark Wood. The Indian players like to face off spin, so I think we might have to wait for a couple more games, maybe for the 50-over series before we see Moeen Ali.
Well, the big one then is for India. 2-1 behind in the series. Already the KL Rahul issue pretty much has been put to bed, so we won't even talk about that. We'll keep him in the 11 for now, Zaheer. But would you like another bowling option, perhaps? Can we get Akshar Patel in to maybe weave a little bit of that turn that he did in the red soil? I know it's not Test cricket anymore, but is that a possibility?
Well, 6 bowling option is a luxury, but I don't see it as an issue in this particular series. I think this series, like I said, is going to be decided by the bat, and with that kind of a lookout, you would want to just figure things out in terms of how to get those runs on board. So I don't see any changes. I think what Virat was mentioning in the post-match chat as well. It's just around that, the body language, how you're going to approach this mighty England side, how you're going to find ways of dealing with their tactics. England has been using bowlers just 1 over 2 over spells. That there's not been a longest spell for you to line up. So how can you counter that? Those kind of things are going to be taking the center stage than figuring what is the playing 11. I think the playing 11 they're sorted with. It's just maybe a tinker here there, but more so around the approach, more so around the planning, more so around the mindset will be the focus before the next game, I feel.
Michael, just to conclude on India, would you concur with that? The one thing you pointed out was tinkering with the batting order. 3 matches, 3 different opening combinations.
Well, Virat Kohli has to bat 3. You talk about Jos Buttler getting as many balls as possible. Surely Virat has to be 3 to get as many as he possibly can. Ishan Kishan, I would put him to open the batting with Rohit Sharma. I'd move KL Rahul into that middle. I think Virat's absolutely right about the body language. For India to be really competitive, particularly if they have to do it the hard way by bowling second, they've got to be really aggressive. You've got to be on top of the England side. You've got to be really walking in hard. And when you get the ball in hand, You know, you've got to go searching wickets in those first 6 overs. That is pretty much the basics of T20 cricket. It's not easy because the pitch clearly gets better. I think the best thing Virat can do for the next game, forget the team, just win the toss. It's a lot easier.
Fair enough. Let's see if he can practice with that. But the general trend around this entire series, and especially this last match, it's all about JB. Yes, it certainly has been. One JB, he's not around. India missing him. Jasprit Bumrah. Many congratulations in case you happen to be eavesdropping on getting married. The other 2 JBs were out there for England. Johnny Bairstow, Jos Buttler, they did it. There's only one JB left to talk about. He goes by the name of Joy Bhattacharya, and he provided us the quiz question for the day, as he always does. It wasn't a very tough one. It was just like win the toss and win the match. If it was Uthappa in 13-14, Manish Pandey 2014-15, Mandeep Singh, Dinesh Karthik, the progression, obviously talking about some very solid domestic players. And all those names were the guys who top scored in the Vijay Hazare Trophy in those respective years. This year, it was Prithvi Shaw, head and shoulders above everyone else with an outstanding season. 827 runs for the little man who couldn't buy a run in Australia. It just shows how he just put his head right and everything was sorted out in the domestic circuit. So who had their head sorted out? Who had their finger sorted out to get their answer faster than anyone else? Well, he had practice from the last game, did Path Narodia. So well done. Last time you had to have a joint victory. This time it's all your own. You get the prize all on your own. We'll need to crank up the questions a little bit, just like the teams will have to crank up their abilities to bat first and put on a big total when they bat. Thank you, gentlemen. We will see you in a couple of days' time to see if the fortunes can turn around. England leads 2-1 on the back of another Jos Buttler special. Thank you to Zaheer Khan. Thank you to Michael Vaughan.
Cheers, JB.
Guys.
Approximately 48 hours' time. Goodbye from Cricbuzz Live.